Great. Welcome, everyone. We'll have several more people joining us as we begin the presentation here. There we go. So I hope you're all here for the Western Union Foundation program information session, as well as application support. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to kick off with some introductions. I'm going to introduce myself first. My name is Miranda Williamson. I'm the Director of Search at Watson Institute. I've been with Watson Institute for about 2 years, and I consider myself to be doing mission-driven work. And part of that work is to remove obstacles and barriers so incredible entrepreneurs like you all can attend programs like our fully funded fellowship programs. And one of those obstacles is having the right information as well as having the knowledge to complete the application to the best of your ability. So that's what we're going to work on removing today. I'm joined here by two of my incredible colleagues, and I'll pass it off to Sandra to introduce herself.
Thank you, Miranda. Hi, everyone. Well, my name is Sandra. I'm located in Guatemala City, and I have been working with Watson for 8 months as part of the admissions team. So I'm really excited to be sharing today with you all of the information about the Western Union Foundation Fellowship Program. Thank you. I will pass it along to Monica.
Hi, everyone. My name is Monica. I'm part of the Watson Admissions and Search team. I've been with Watson for 1 year and 8 months approximately. So I'm very excited. I'm hoping that you're going to get all your questions answered, and please do not hesitate to ask questions at the end and make sure that you get all the information that you need. Thank you.
Great. And we also want to hear from you all. We want to hear where you're from, where are you joining us from in the world. We want to hear what problem in the world you are working to solve, and of course, your name. So, where are you from? What are you trying to solve? And what is your name? Put it in the chat, please. We'd love to hear from you as we begin our presentation. So what's on the agenda today? Introductions, as we just introduced ourselves, and we'd love to hear from you. Then Sandra is going to share a large scale program overview. So she's going to share high level details about the Western Union Foundation Fellowship Program. We'll dive into some application support tips, pitfalls to avoid, and then tips to build a strong application. We do receive a high number of applications, and we want to give you all the tools to be successful. There is a video requirement to the application, and we're going to give you some tips on how to be successful during that portion as well. All right. And then we will have plenty of time for questions at the end. We will stop recording during questions, so please feel free to ask any questions that you may have. So we're going to dive right in, and I'm going to pass it off to Sandra. Oh, Sandra, you are muted.
Sorry, thank you. So we are going to start about getting to know who is this fellowship for? Is this fellowship right for you or not? So the Western Union Foundation Fellowship is for young and high promising entrepreneurs and community leaders who are from and working with highly marginalized and displaced communities and with refugees around the globe. The ideal applicants for these fellowships will be joining with relevant social impact and leadership experiences, with some proven experience of building community development projects within these communities. What does this mean? That you guys should already have your idea or already started working on your project or have launched your venture and want to scale it for the future, and you have a track of innovation. So for example, you could add the impact that you guys have already had, the numbers of followers that you have, where and who are you working with, who are you impacting is very important when you are filling out your application. And about this, Miranda is going to be given more details later on. So we are looking at applicants from Mexico, Kenya, Afghanistan or Afghan refugees, Austria, Brazil, Canada, Colombia, Costa Rica, Ethiopia, France, Germany, India, Italy, Jordan, Lebanon, United Arab Emirates, Pakistan, Peru, Philippines, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Uganda, United Kingdom, and United States. This doesn't mean that the applications are closed for other countries. We encourage everyone to apply. So if you are from other countries that I didn't mention, you may apply if your work targets any of these specific locations or you are working with different locations. And if this moment you are not selected for this fellowship, that doesn't mean that you are not eligible for the upcoming fellowships. Having that said, later we will share information about another fellowship that which you might also apply. So right now we're going to go through some program dates and time commitment. So as you guys know, this program starts on January 17th and it ends on May 5th, 2023. It is a fully funded program, which means that the Western Union Foundation will give you everything that you need. You don't need to pay any additional things during this process or the program. This is a 16-week program with different time commitments. So as you can see, for the first 2 weeks, it's an intensive time commitment. That means that you must be able to commit 20 to 25 hours per week, Monday through Friday. And this might look around 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Mountain Time, it might vary depending on the region that you are. So I recommend you guys to verify the time difference between your country and Mountain Time. Then for the remaining 14 weeks of the program, you must be able to commit 5 to 8 hours per week, only Tuesdays and Thursdays in the same schedule that I mentioned for the first 2 weeks before. This time commitment that I mentioned for the 16 weeks means that you should be only for this amount of time, since it's a virtual program. This virtual programming will include you master courses, workshops, and weekly check-ins. Then we will have the in-person component of this program. So what does this mean? This is what we call the LED Base Camp. And what is a base camp? It's a 3-day intensive program where you are going to recruit and select a group of 25 people from your community and run a 3-day program for them. For this, you must be able to commit around 80 to 100 additional hours during the 16-week period to be able to execute and run this program. All fellows will be given a stipend to run the program in person. An additional in-person component will be fellow-led meetups. This means that you will be meeting fellows from your same community. This virtual and in-person components will allow fellows to take the advantage of the global cohort while also focusing on creating local impact with your communities. During this program, we will support you in optimizing your work and building a sustainable revenue model. So another thing is that we have additional seed funding. So there is $25,000 in seed funding money available for fellows at the program. Up to $6,000 in seed funding will be available for the top fellows of this program. This means that depending on your performance and the impact you have throughout the program, you will be selected to get the seed funding or receiving seed funding money. Thank you. This is the general information about the program, so I'm going to pass it along to Miranda, and she will be sharing tips and tricks for building your application.
All right, my aim is to share some tips and tricks on how to build a strong application for the Western Union Foundation Fellowship Program. So there's a lot of mystery around what the application process looks like. And I just want to remove a bit of that mystery here. So I have this beautiful diagram so you can see a bit what it looks like, what this whole process looks like. So you complete your online application. You see here in my first image, you're completing your online application after attending this webinar. You're going to go home and complete this application. You submit it. And where does it go then? Well, it goes to our admissions team, and you're looking at our admissions team now, and there's no mystery around that. We review your application, and then if you're lucky, you make it to the interview stage. If you're invited to an interview, it means we've seen something in your application that really stood out, that we want to know more. We want to learn a bit more about you. Then next, you're considered for the fellowship. And with this fellowship in particular, Western Union Foundation will review our top candidates. So we will send them a pile of top candidates from all the applications we get, and the Western Union Foundation will review those top candidates. Then, let's say they're like, yes, good to go. You would receive your fellowship award and sign a memorandum of understanding, also known as an MOU. Basically, it's a contract saying I agree to participate in this program, to execute the base camp, and to be a part of all programming. So that's what the process looks like. We'll remove all the mystery so you know exactly what it looks like. Now you see why it's so important to take some time and submit a strong application. Is because the funder, Western Union Foundation, will actually be looking at it. We're very nice over here and the admissions team, but we don't know how the funders are. They may be looking for quite a strong application. All right, so how do you do that? How do you take your application to the next level so you make it through this process? I have some pitfalls to avoid. So do not answer the questions with one sentence. I believe we give you 250 to 500 words. You do not have to go all the way to the 500 limit. 250 is fine if that's what you have to say and you're a succinct writer, but use that minimum at least. Do not forget that grammar is important. So I recommend having a trusted friend proofread all of your work before submitting it. Do not complete your application in a language other than English. We are a bilingual team. Both Monica and Sandra speak additional languages. I'm very impressed by that. I do not. The program is in English, and the Western Union Foundation reviewers, I don't know what languages they speak. So it's important that you use English as the language to answer your questions. Do not copy and paste your mission from the United Nations website. One of our questions asks about your mission. Do not copy and paste it from another website. We understand that your mission may be related to that of the United Nations or the Sustainable Development Goals. Still, rewrite it in your own words. It's considered plagiarism if you copy and paste from a website, and it's taken very seriously in the United States education system as a issue and a concern. All right, so some tips for building a strong application. So I've sat on multiple admissions committees, and I actually went and got these tips from PhD level professors and law professors that I worked with on admissions committees. So I didn't make these tips up. These tips were tips I went and gathered in my life as an admissions coordinator. So be specific. The strongest applications are very specific. That means really detailing your impact stats, detailing your venture, those really specific details that highlight your work. Don't lose sight of the prompts. We ask you certain questions for very specific reasons. We want to know the answers. So don't lose sight of those prompts. Make sure you're fully answering those questions. Personal story. This is so key. We want to know what drives you. We want to know what brought you to the work you're doing and why you are best suited to do this work. So basically your pitch. We want to know your pitch. Don't worry, if you get admitted into the program, we'll help you hone this and make this as strong as absolutely possible. But I'm sure you've worked on this already. When someone asks you what your work is, you have something that you say. We want to hear that. And then I cannot stress this one enough, submit your application early. We do admit on a rolling basis. What that means is we're continually working to admit folks. Now, for this specific program, the Western Union Foundation program, there may be quite a few folks that are not admitted till right after the application deadline, but that doesn't mean that you weren't reviewed and interviewed and we're ready to move forward with you. It's just that we will be waiting for that final review from the Western Union Foundation to go ahead and move forward. But having your application in early will allow us to get it ready so that it's in that first round of admissions, which is excellent. It also allows us to ask any questions if we have any concerns and time for you to answer those. So tips for the interview. This one, number one, be on time. It's really important to be on time for the interview. Matthew, we'll have time for some questions in a moment. So be on time for the interview and show up with a solid internet connection. Dress for success. And that does not mean that you need to follow Western standards for what that is, like blazers usually in our Western culture, something that is considered professional. Dress for whatever that means within your cultural context. We are a global cohort, so we do understand that there are different ways of presenting oneself in a professional setting in different cultures. So come with that level of attention to detail. Prepare. So be prepared to talk about your passion for your venture, your work, your personal story. Be prepared. And then be prepared with some questions. We do have some time for questions. So be prepared to ask some really detailed and interesting questions. There will be time for that as well. There are some optional questions on the application. Feel free to answer those. For one of them is links to your website. Another one is a business plan. Some of you may have participated in pitch competitions before and have a short business plan. Feel free to include those. You do not need to create anything additional for these questions, though. This is an opportunity to highlight something you've already done, but it's not encouraged to create something additional. For example, I know I've had a few individuals who have their business plan in another language, and then they try to translate it for me. I don't encourage that. These optional questions aren't usually a make or break for your application. So I don't want you to take the time to translate your business model just for an optional question. You will be rewriting it and building it if you are admitted into the program. So save it for that opportunity. All right, so video recommendations. There is a 2-minute video, and that video is so important. That video will be going to the Western Union Foundation reviewers. So stay within 2 minutes so you can show that you can follow instructions. However, if you do already have a video promoting your program that's really polished, I would like to see that as well. So you can just preface that this was already created And sometimes these are just even better than creating a new one for the program. However, you do not need to go create a high-tech video for this program. We are not interested in that. We're not looking at how tech savvy you are. We're simply looking at getting to know you a bit through this video. We want to see your 90-second pitch. So just be concise with your language and what you share, but also show your personality. If your venture is working with children in Rwanda, show the children you're working with. If you are working with rural farmers in Kenya, show the farming community you're working with. Go ahead and show your personality. Show us the communities you're working with and the type of work you're doing. Show that you know Watson as well. We want to hear why you're interested in this fellowship program and why you would be a good fit. All right? So what's next? Submit your application. Like I said, submit it early. Plan on getting it in this weekend. Set aside some time. The application should not take a huge amount of time. A couple of hours to submit a strong application should be plenty. Then you will schedule your interview. If you were moved to the next round, you will receive an email notification from Sandra. So be on the lookout for that and schedule that interview promptly. Then you'll receive a decision within 2 weeks. You may be waitlisted. Okay, this is important. Waitlisted is not a horrible thing. So don't get concerned that you won't get in the fellowship if you are waitlisted. There is still a possibility. What this means is that there are a few things to consider with your application. And one of the things that may be in the works is that the Western Union Foundation is reviewing your application. That's a good thing. That means we thought so highly of you that we're sending you to be reviewed by the Western Union Foundation. But we needed to waitlist you during that short period of time when they are reviewing your application. So that really is not a horrible sign. It's a good sign. We're still considering you for the program. All right, that brings us to the question section of our whole info session here. I'm going to stop sharing and stop recording so that you can all feel free to ask questions as detailed as they may be. All right, so go ahead and raise your hand and I'll call on you and you can unmute yourself and ask, or drop your questions directly in the chat.